Ladies and gents, welcome back to AusGamers. You are here once again with Stephen Farrelly, who has found himself once again out in lovely San Francisco. I'm here with Scott James, who is production assistant on this title, which has been coming for quite a little while. We've just actually got ourselves some hands-on time with the multiplayer, which is shaping up pretty nicely, mostly because you guys have actually toyed a lot with the concept of the sand, which is a big component of the single-player narrative, and I want to get to Buried. I want to spend some time on that because that was my favorite mode downstairs. But I guess you've been playing the game non-stop to kind of help with the balancing issues and just kind of getting that end game product to the standards that it needs to be at, especially in such a competitive field. For you guys, I guess what's the process been since that multiplayer code kind of landed in your lap to where you are now?
Well, I mean, we've been doing a lot of we play 6-8 hours a week. We've been balancing it. We've been giving our feedback to Darkside, doing a lot of internal stuff, and mostly we're focusing on, obviously balance is very important. We want to make it a competitive shooter, but just making it fun and making it different. As you said, Buried being such a unique mode to the game, it really ties in with the whole, the field, the single-player story as well. You're in a wrecked Dubai. You got two factions fighting against each other for, control of the city, and really it kind of encapsulates that desperation of the you're trying to hold on to whatever you can, and the buried bases are held together with scraps of metal, and they're just one of them and Consumed, it was a parking garage that's been has a plane landed in it, and it's sort of you're trying to guard your stuff, and at the same time you're trying to take out the other. So it's that really cool attack defend type scenario. So as you saw, we were communicating. We were saying, oh hey, let's start out really heavy offense, but we got to have a guy back on defense. And it ties in with that really intimate squad gameplay that we have. You got to always be communicating. You got to always be using your strengths. When I was on defense, I was going scavenger because he can repair the bases a lot faster, so it really helped. And but then when we were on the Exiles, Breacher can do a little more damage, so it's a lot of coordinating with the team, making sure you have all the right components in place, and really working together to take down those vital points.
And for a better understanding of what Buried is, make sure you guys check out my hands-on impressions. But moving forward, there's another component you just mentioned, which is there are these archetypes that you guys have in the game, and for the sort of the tactical shooter, a lot of the other ones that are released sort of don't really follow that. It's kind of more of your just base, your team red versus team blue. How have you found in terms of the intricacies of being able to be a medic, of being able to be a gunner, to I guess to the subtleties of the differentiators that this game has over its competitors?
Well, I think it adds a lot of replayability. I remember we would do these sessions, and I'd say, I want to start as a gunner. Let me just play gunner for a while, see how that feels. And I could, there's a lot of replayability within the classes, just trying different perks. But then as soon as I get onto medic, it's almost like a different game. I've got a new role. I want to stick with my guys, I'm trying to keep them alive. I'm giving adrenaline boosts, healing them when they need it. And then, it almost feels like a different game. Sort of like a lot of games that have classes, they're differentiated enough where it's not just, oh, this guy maybe does a little more damage or something like that. They're very drastic, so you have to make sure that you're always getting the right mix. And on top of that, I think what it really adds, and what I love, having played it for so many months at this point, is that the skill ceiling is really high. I'm always figuring out new stuff I can do with my guys, and new ways to match up with my teammates. And I got a gunner, I got a guy who plays gunner a lot, on my team, and you get to know that because you got 3 teammates, so you get to learn what their strategies are, even over the course of 1 or 2 games, and then you say, okay, I'm going to match up with him. He's always going gunner. He's a good gunner, so I'm going to go medic, or I'm going to go sniper and make him, increase his accuracy. And I think it adds a lot of room to improve. I'm still learning new things about the game even now. New ways to use classes, and I think that's really cool. It's really fun. Adds a lot to the experience.
Now we've only played a really small number of maps. Can you reveal how many maps there are in the game?
So we're just talking about the 3 right now. We've got, and I think they give a really good idea of what kind of range these maps are going to be. You've got Last Resort, which is the middle of a destroyed resort. You're on the very top tower. You're fighting through the penthouse suites, stuff like that. You've got Consumed, which has been it's almost like a downtown street, and it's just been buried with sand. And then you've got Crow's Nest, where you're fighting on top of skyscrapers. And I think a lot of those maps, each of them has a great feel, and they play differently too. It's not just aesthetic. It's Crow's Nest, we were sniping each other across the map, whereas Last Resort was everybody was trying to use shotguns because it's a lot of cover and everything's really close together. And so the maps each have a different feel, and it's really very different gameplay for each one.
Now, talking about the perks, I guess when the game kind of landed in your laps, were you guys going in and playing it sort of similar to how you might have played other multiplayer games, and then just kind of finding these we talked about these incremental differences that there are, and the perk system that you talked to me about during the multiplayer was pretty unique. Can you kind of run us through that?
Yeah. So what we tried to do is we tried to create perks that weren't just going to, it's not just a trade-off. Oh, I want to do more damage, but I'm not going to get this. It was more, what perks are really going to help to augment the class abilities. So as I was showing you with the sniper, there's the covert perk that will keep crosshairs from turning red over you. There's another perk, Hunter, which was locked for you, but it will allow you to show up in a different spot in the map. And for a gunner, that could be good. In one way, if you're running around and you're trying to get from point to point, you're going to appear in a different spot, and you're going to try to confuse your enemies a little bit. Whereas if you've got the Hunter as a sniper, it helps you stay concealed a little bit more. You can take your sniper shot and not exactly, reveal yourself immediately. So each one sort of interacts a little bit differently with each class, and it sort of expands. It raises that skill ceiling a little bit more. You got to really, spend time with each perk, see how it works with each class, and there's just so much room for experimentation, which I love. I mean, I always love that in shooters where you've really got, you've got time to sort of to mess around and find your absolute best perk for your play style.
Now we were talking to one another while playing because we're sitting in close proximity, so I wasn't really paying attention. But is there in-game voice banter? With actual characters carried over from the single player?
There's not any from the single player, but there is a lot of voice chat. You can hear your guys if you're, when you were down but not out, which is where if you get shot but you don't take enough damage to kill you, you drop down to your knees and you can hit X and your character will start yelling, help me out, don't leave me here, and that will alert your teammates to that. If you throw a grenade, you'll yell grenade out, and you can sort of let everybody know that way. When you're reloading, your character will say reloading, so you can. Oh, I got to cover this guy while he's defenseless. Yeah. So there's a lot of that, and it's great video. It's really entertaining. The writer for the single player also wrote all of the banter for the multiplayer, and I actually was talking to him about it at PAX, and he was asking me about all the lines that made it in, and the ones that he liked the most. And he really it's cool. He tried to give each one a really unique character. The Breacher has this kind of crazy New York accent, whereas the snipers are sort of Southern boys. They're hunters, and you can really kind of feel the differences in the personalities. It's a lot of fun.
Now, the single player, one of the big hooks is the narrative, and we did talk that there isn't a narrative component to the game, barring the stories you create for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
But another big element of the single player is this awesome soundtrack that you guys are being quite quiet about, but I know it's there because I've had a bit of a dabble in it. Is there any of that stuff that carries over into the multiplayer that you can talk about?
There's no really music that plays during the multiplayer at this point. No.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it there, Scott. It's looking great. Buried is such a fantastic mode. I'm really glad that you guys played around with that and created something unique for the game. And I'm hoping, will there be? Are we only dabbling in a couple of modes? Is there more modes to be announced?
Yeah, so we're only looking at 3 of the modes right now. There are more, but there are some more unique modes to Spec Ops that are really interesting and really fun. So.
All right, no worries. Well, we can't wait to see and play more. So yeah, well done. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.